Hello everyone, welcome once again to the second part of March 2021 revision series segment. In this segment, we are going to talk about the important international news related events that happened in the month of March. So moving on, the first one was the event of Suez Canal getting blocked. The canal that connects the Red Sea with the Mediterranean Sea. How did it happen? A ship named MV Ever Given by this Japanese ship company, alright, it got stuck in the Suez Canal. Alright, so what is the Suez Canal? The Suez Canal, initially identified as an idea in 1858 and completed in 1869. Ferdinand de Lesseps was the one who is considered the architect behind the idea of Suez Canal. The Suez Canal connects on the northern side the port Said and on the south the port Tawfiq, which is also at the city of Suez. Alright, now when you have the Suez Canal, you don't have to go through the entire continent of Africa going via the Cape of Good Hope to connect via Indian Ocean. Alright, you can merely go through the Mediterranean Sea, cross the Suez Canal, enter the Red Sea, and then go by the Gulf of Oman up to the Indian Ocean. Alright, so this region, the Suez Canal, is the one that handles majority of the trade that happens from China and India and other Asian economies. So this in itself was a huge news. What kind of questions can be asked? The Suez Canal is the national property of the country of Egypt. Alright, it was undertaken, nationalized by Abdel Nasser, alright, one of the founders of the non-aligned movement. Right, now the name of the ship, the ports that it connects, the length of the canal when it was created. The canal is 193 kilometer long. Alright, it shortens the distance of ships not being required to go via the Cape of Good Hope. Alright, so this company has now been sued. The Suez Canal, the ship was released six days later. It was able, the canal was cleaned up. Alright, so the ship got stuck. The name of the ship, the year becomes important, especially the names of the sea it also connects. Very simple questions can sometimes be asked in GK, especially related to this event. Alright, it is a massive event that took place. Then in Hong Kong, alright, in Hong Kong, China finally ended the concept of one nation, two systems. In 1997, Hong Kong administrative region was taken over or given to the Communist Party of China. Till then it was a colony of United Kingdom. Alright, in 1997 the economy of Hong Kong was larger than the economy of mainland China. Alright, back then China needed Hong Kong, so it agreed to a system wherein the mainland China today is a non-democratic base, right? It is controlled by the Communist Party of China. There is absolutely no scope for dissent. There are no democratic rights that exist, especially political rights that exist on mainland China. But in Hong Kong, because it was governed by Britain, it was a democratic structure, right? So it was agreed that for the next 50 years, no changes will be brought in Hong Kong, and it will be governed by one nation, two system format. But now the Chinese economy is the second largest economy of the world. The mainland China's economy is multiple times more than that of the economy of Hong Kong administrative region, right? Last year in 2019, alright, and 2020, widespread protests had happened in Hong Kong. Why had they happened? A new law was passed in Hong Kong. This was the extradition law. This new security law provided that individuals in Hong Kong could now be tried on mainland China. This led to widespread protest in Hong Kong. Alright, pro-democracy or people who did not want to be governed by the communist system protested, right? So then the Communist Party realized that, see, this is not going to carry on, and they got the idea to pass these new election reforms based on the 2019 elections. In 2019, the Legislative Council elections took place in Hong Kong, and the assembly was dominated by pro-democracy protesters, all right, or leaders, those who had led the protest. Now, using the COVID-19 as an excuse, China stated that, see, we will assemble the new assembly later on. First, we will deal with the pandemic. In middle of all this, the Carrie Lam, who is the head there, the main administrative head, who is also a close of the Communist Party of China, now brought in these assembly reforms. What have been done in the assembly reforms? First, the election committee, the one that selects and shortlists the members, the size of this assembly has been increased from 1,200 to 1,500. What this means is now the assembly will be majoritarian by Communist Party of China members. Usually the election committee has residents of Hong Kong, people, business leaders, all of them. But now it will be majoritarian by Communist Party members. The second thing is the Legislative Council itself. The seats in the council have been increased from 70 to 90, all right. However, the size of seats that will be directly elected by the people, they have been reduced from 35 to 20, all right. And in the assembly of 90, only 20. What this means is this assembly will now be dominated by nominated members of the Communist Party of China. Earlier it was equal 35-35. Now it is 70:20 ratio, all right. So this means democracy is more or less over. Along with this, another law that has been passed is the short listing. So you can read from the statement, this is the intent, all right. Amend electoral rules and improve the electoral system of Hong Kong for its chief executive, which is Carrie Lam right now, and the Legislative Council, in order to ensure a system in which patriots govern Hong Kong and plug existing loopholes that allow foreign interference in Hong Kong's internal affairs, all right. What this means is anyone who criticizes Communist Party of China is not a patriot of China, right? So under this ground, the new system of reforms has been brought in Hong Kong, all right? Then is the one big news of 2021, which was the Quad Summit. The Quad Summit members, that is India, USA, Australia, Japan, Joe Biden, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Prime Minister Scott Morrison, and Yoshihide Suga from Japan, all right? So they were the leaders. This was the first Quad Summit attended by the heads of the state, all right. Quadrilateral Security Dialogue, first time held on March 12, 2021. Now, the Quad leaders made it clear it is not an Asian NATO. That is, it is not a military alliance. But what does Quad stand for, all right? So in terms of Quad itself, the Quad stands for Free and Open Indo-Pacific. The Indo-Pacific region has increasingly come under pressure of Chinese influence, all right. Who are the countries in the Indo-Pacific? It is Japan, Australia, India, all right. India has dominated the Indian Ocean through its naval power, but China has recently been pushing into the Indian Ocean region, and it has been militarily pushing borders with India, which is evident in the border crisis, all right. Secondly, on the Pacific side, all right, in that area also China has been pushing the countries there. Additionally, these four countries are also tied to the idea of democracy, which China isn't, all right. So in that regard, Quad is seen as a political heavyweight vis-a-vis China, all right. But the challenges that Quad will deal with immediately are economic and health impacts of COVID, climate change, and shared challenges. Remember this shared challenge, this is particularly related to the challenge of China, including cyberspace, critical technology, counter-terrorism, quality infrastructure investment, and humanitarian assistance. So what all was agreed on the Quad Summit? 2 working groups will be created. One will be a COVID-19 response working group, and second will be a economic working group, which will deal with economic aspects. The COVID-19 one will deal with supply of COVID vaccines. So all the 3 countries apart from India will supply monetary assistance and tap into India's potential to manufacture COVID-19 vaccines, under which almost 1 billion COVID vaccines will be manufactured and supplied to COVAX, all right? The statements of all the 4 world leaders is also something that I've brought in the PPT. So we are united by democratic values, our commitment to free and open and inclusive Indo-Pacific. Usually China does not subscribe to rules of international law. Our agenda covering areas like vaccines, climate change, emerging technologies make Quad a force for global good. This was Prime Minister Modi's comments on it. We join together as leaders of nations to welcome what I think will become a new dawn in Indo-Pacific through our gathering. When there are 4 big powers in Indo-Pacific, the one other power of Indo-Pacific which has been left out is China, all right? So therefore, these comments immediately led to response and retaliation from China in terms of 2 pacts, all right? The first one was a pact with Iran. Now, details of this pact are very limited, but this was agreed on the pretext of 50th anniversary of diplomatic relationship between China and Iran. It is known as the Comprehensive Strategic Partnership. It covers the areas of oil and mining, promoting industrial activity, transportation, agricultural cooperation. All right. Now, the primary purpose, who are the individuals involved? Foreign Minister of Iran, Mohammad Javad Zarif, and Chinese counterpart, Wang Yi. All right. Under this, one of the highlight of this agreement is that China will be investing almost 400 million US dollars over 25 years in relation to getting access to Iranian port and islands for trade purposes. One standout port of Iran is the Chabahar port. The Chabahar port is the one that India is creating, all right? India has created it. The port terminal, everything is through Indian investment. The Strait of Hormuz, all right, which borders Iranian seashore, is one where majority of Chinese trade happens from. Majority of oil import of China takes place via Strait of Hormuz, all right? Therefore, it is a huge military and strategic importance for China and its trade commitment, all right? Immediately when all of this was there, India also hosted the Maritime India Summit or the Chabahar Day, all right? Under this, 11 countries were invited. This was India's agenda to push the Chabahar port to be a part of the International North-South Transport Corridor, all right? The corridor was initial idea of Russia, Iran and India, established in 2000. The current members of it, along with these 3 countries, is Azerbaijan, Armenia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyz Republic, Tajikistan, Turkey, Ukraine, Belarus, Oman, Syria and Bulgaria as observer. It envisions a 7,200 multi-route network. It is to connect the Indian Ocean and the Persian Gulf to the Caspian Sea and limit the size of trade route, all right? So this is the map that you connect India through the Chabahar port up to the Caspian Sea, all right, where Azerbaijan, all these Central Asian countries are there. Now, for India to actually access this entire market, one way is either to go through Pakistan. Now, that is a non-option for India. So, thus, this is the Strait of Hormuz, all right, where the Chabahar port is located. India wants to include this in the INSTEC and create this entire market, all right, for India to access the area here, all right. It is in this regard, it will eliminate the requirement of traveling through all these different jurisdictions. This market is dominated by European countries. This is dominated by Middle Eastern countries. Most of these countries are not direct allies of India, all right. So if there is a problem on this trade route, you should have an alternative, all right, if you want to access one of your close allies, that is Russia. So thus is the INSTEC. INSTEC in itself is an idea very important to India's strategic need to connect to Central Asian republics, all right. So this is the INSTEC. What has India wanted? To create or include the Chabahar port as the beginning or the entry point of the INSTEC corridor, all right. The second thing related to China was a cyber attack that was carried out by China using Trojan horse software known as ShadowPad. Through ShadowPad, what can you do? You plant the software or the virus or Trojan horse in the computer, and then you get remote access. All right, this was partly cyber warfare, partly terrorism activity carried out by a cyber group known as Red Echo. This is linked directly to Chinese. All right, this had attacked the power grid in Maharashtra. Now see, conventional terrorism attack happen on areas where civilians are there. Who accesses the services that are there for critical infrastructure? The civilians themselves, right? Therefore, this area or this services become part of modern warfare. So the name of the software that was used, the group that was involved in the cyber attack, in case you get a one-line question, which Chinese cyber group attacked the power grids in Maharashtra? It was Red Echo using what software? Trojan horse named ShadowPad. All right. Then moving on was Russia and China's response to Quad. So when one country creates a platform for free and fair Indo-Pacific, what do? All right, so China and Russia announced a new strategic dialogue platform to build consensus. All right, this was created, announcement by Sergei Lavrov, who is the Russian foreign minister, along with Chinese counterpart Wang Yi. All right, they rejected the idea of rule-based order, called for total multilateralism and deference towards the Charter of United Nations. All right, it was directly in backdrop of Quad summit. So in case you get a larger question about Indo-Pacific, all right, or related to the Quad summit, so you may also get a question of what has been China's response in relation to that. It is this platform which they have created along with whom? Russia. All right, so this announcement forms part of that. Then last news in international news was related to Novak Djokovic. Novak Djokovic, currently 19-time male Grand Slam winner, now became or has become the singles men category ATP Tour player to reign as rank 1 for the longest time. From March onwards, he surpassed Roger Federer's record of 310 weeks at rank 1. And he has continued to remain rank 1 since then. All right, and trust me, even beyond CLAT 2021, he is the one who will continue to remain rank 1. So name of Novak Djokovic, who became the number 1 ranked player and to stay at ranking number 1 for the longest time period, Novak Djokovic. All right, so on that note, we end March 2021 segment, very important from international policy perspective and different national news. All right, some very important legal news and some very important other national news for all of you. On that note, if you like the work that we do, please give this video a thumbs up. You will be able to access the PPT on the link given in the description box. On that note, thank you so much. See you all in the next segment.